Abusive mother-in-law tried to abduct my child while he was trick-or-treating tonight. We have been no contact with my bat-crap crazy abusive mother-in-law since August of last year when she slapped our child for saying no to her, and then went on a crusade to destroy our lives for standing up to her. We moved several months ago, and had no idea that she had found us. Tonight while I was taking my 6-year-old child trick-or-treating, she ambushed us, and tried to get my son to get into her car. Thankfully I was with friends, and neighbors, and my other just yes mother-in-law, and they are able to take my kid down the street while I intercepted abusive mother-in-law, and called the police. Afterwards my neighbors told me they've seen her truck casing our house the past few days, and thought it was suspicious because it kept driving by slowly, and staring at our home. Last night I swore I saw a flashlight in my backyard, but looked out the window, and on our cameras, and didn't see anything, so thought I was just being paranoid. The police came, and abusive mother-in-law and her insane husband fled. The police took my statement, and that of witnesses. All this went down in front of many of my neighbors. I was standing in the middle of the street crying, and talking to police. My child is traumatized, and terrified, and wants to know how she found us, and why she won't leave us alone. He's too scared to sleep alone. I'm so angry, and hurt, and scared. What the F is wrong with a woman? What could she have possibly been thinking? Why won't she just leave us alone? We just moved into this house. Our child loves his school. We are making friends. I don't want to live in terror because of her. It's been a very emotional and draining last 24 hours. I can't comment on the legal actions being taken right now, but the police are taking this seriously and we feel immensely grateful for their work. I have hired an attorney and am pursuing a criminal protection order. I also beefed up the security system on my home today and will be installing outdoor motion detector lights this weekend. We already have a kick-ass network of cameras and an alarm. That was the very first thing we did when we moved into this house because we knew this day was coming. We didn't think it would be so soon though. We do have a dog already. She never barks though. She is a very good girl with terrible gas and lots of slobber who is great at cuddles and not great at guard dogging. We really can't get another dog though because we found out our son is allergic. No way we're going to get rid of our pooch, but we really can't get another. I'm definitely going to get little man into karate. He is excited about the idea and I think it will be good for him. I'm also trying to find a therapist for him. No luck in that department today, but at least I got most of the legal things rolling. I know it's harsh and I feel bad for my wife, but I really hope her mom goes to jail for a long time. DS said he hopes she goes to jail forever. He's 6 so he doesn't really understand what that means, but it serves her right to have her grandson hate her so much after everything she's put him through. My neighbors have really rallied for us and that has been an amazing experience. Abusive mother-in-law trying to abduct a child while all the families were trick-or-treating sure brought a lot of awareness to our situation and we've received a lot of support so far and vows to watch out for her. I didn't get any sleep last night at all and have been crying on and off all night and day, so at least I look like a Halloween decoration today. Good times. Mother-in-law told my fiancé I'm cheating on him with his female cousin and my half-sister. I'm so tired of her. I'm bi, but I'm in love with my male fiancé. My mother-in-law, having known about the bi thing since before we got together, is convinced I'll cheat on him with a woman, despite us being together for 3 years and me not so much as looking at another person in this time. About a month ago I met his cousin, a straight woman with a boyfriend, and you know when you meet someone, and you immediately know you'll be friends? It was like that. We've seen each other twice since the initial meeting, one with fiancé there, and then the other day when we went shopping, and got coffee without him. She took a picture of the two of us sat on opposite sides of a table at Starbucks, posted it on the Book of Faces, and tagged me. We were sitting opposite each other, weren't touching, we weren't even looking at each other in the picture. Tonight my fiancé then shows me a message from his mother. Honey, I'm so sorry to be the one to tell you this, but you have a right to know. My name has been unfaithful, and has betrayed you in the worst of ways. If you need me I'm here. Then she sent the photo of me, and the cousin. She tried to tell my fiancé that I am cheating on him with his straight, committed, female cousin. He replied with 3 cry-laughing emojis, and a reminder that the woman was his cousin, on his father's side, parents divorced so she might genuinely not have known. Instead of bowing out graciously with what little was left of her dignity, she then doubled down, saying I didn't want to have to do this, but here, and then sent him a photo of me with an older blonde woman who she has never met. This woman was, drumroll please, my half-sister. My fiancé thinks this is the funniest thing in the world and I have to agree. Not the first time she's done something like this, but definitely the funniest. Fiancé says jury's out on whether he's inviting her to the wedding or not because like I said this isn't the first time she's done something like this. For wondering how she got the photos, when cousin and I were at Starbucks cousin posted the photo of us on FB, and tagged me, And the week before that, when I was with my sister, I posted the picture. She seems to have just pulled her evidence off Facebook. I rearranged mother-in-law's furniture. We've been married a long time, a really long time. Mother-in-law was mostly irritating with a little just no, and I've been low to no contact for probably the last 10 years, and my life has been divine because of that. Dear husband doesn't mind because he gets lots of romance when his ma isn't interfering in our relationship. But way back, I tried so hard to get on her good side. I was such a sweet summer child. I thought to myself she should be happy for dear husband. I cooked, and cleaned, and threw parties, and most people liked me, but she was sly, so dear husband didn't catch the nuances of her behavior. I tried to point it out, with little luck, because I had no experience with a woman like this. We left for our honeymoon a week after our wedding, enough time for us to set up our small apartment, and get cozy living together beforehand. We left for a week with the keys left to mother-in-law to fetch our mail, and various things. When we got back, she had completely rearranged my kitchen, the living room, threw out some of my pictures, and knickknacks from our bedroom, and I swear she also tossed some of my lingerie. I was upset, so upset, and cried to dear husband. He, angry at his mom, talked to her, then came home with the usual, "Can you guess it?" She can't imagine why I'd be upset. She was obviously being so helpful. She didn't mean to do anything wrong, and the tears came at her bidding, so that dear husband was thrown for a loop. Never having experienced woman-to-woman territorial stomps, he came home spewing her diatribe, and simply told me that he would help me put things back. And he did, except for the kitchen. He only made things worse in there. But not for lack of trying. Mother-in-law never even taught him to butter bread. Sigh. But I learned a valuable lesson. Whenever mother-in-law was up to her shenanigans, she would wait until we were alone, look at me, and do this evil smile with a nod, sort of like those subgifts, to acknowledge her disdain to me properly. I learned from the best, the very best. Mother-in-law was the town pillar, active in church and charity, and so sweet to the people she approved of. So, here is the meat of this post. Mother-in-law is old now, and still just as sneaky. If anything, old age has sharpened her skills, and she has taken on the role of helpless old lady quite fabulously. There are volunteers who help her, and bring her meals, sit, and read with her. It's all quite nice, really. She did a week-long stint in the hospital, recently, and dear husband got the key to her house to retrieve her mail, etc. etc. Well, I made a copy of said key, without dear husband knowing. Of course, because I had a plan. During that week, I took some time off work. I was so sick, don't you know, and let myself into her house to rearrange, clean her kitchen. I also threw away some broken porcelain, and other items. They weren't necessary, took pictures off the walls, and put them in the closet. Then I rearranged the linen closet, the coat closet, mother-in-law's closet, and her bathrooms, both of them. I left the living room mostly alone, sadly, but I didn't want dear husband to catch on. See, then, on the day dear husband was supposed to pick her up from the hospital, and bring her home, I offered to help dear husband clean her house for her homecoming. He was mildly surprised at my offer, but I said I've decided to let bygones be bygones. I will help, then get out of the way so dear husband could help mother-in-law get settled in. She can mostly live by herself, with a little help every day from a certified nurse assistant, and hubs to check in on her. So we cleaned, mopped, and vacuumed. Got everything sparkly, and clean. I went with dear husband to fetch his mom, and sat in the back seat. When we arrived, mother-in-law immediately noticed things were askew, but she couldn't tell what it was yet. Then she noticed the missing pictures. Mother-in-law, what did you do with my pictures? Dear husband and me. What do you mean? Mother-in-law, you stole my pictures. Me? Oh my, no mother-in-law, I helped dear husband clean, and that's all. Dear husband confirmed that is all I did. I asked if she'd like some tea, and she yelled at me to stay out of her kitchen. She went in herself, and screamed, "What had we done?" I looked at dear husband all puzzled, and dear husband repeats that he and I only cleaned the counters, and dishes, and mopped. Mother-in-law was livid, so I told dear husband that my presence must be upsetting to her, so maybe I should leave. Dear husband, confused because he had no idea why his mom was acting so outwardly hostile to me, agreed. So I cheerfully told mother-in-law that I'd be on my way, and dear husband could call me when he's ready to be picked up. That's all dear husband heard. He didn't see me smile at mother-in-law because he was facing my back. And you all, I nodded at her with her very own signature nod. She was livid. Dear husband told me on the way home, when I went to pick him up a few hours later, that she had accused me of all sorts of things, and that's when I said the poor dear's mind must be going. He agrees. The poor thing is getting so old. After all, she should have been nicer to me. I get to help pick her nursing home, and I know very well how to play the helpful supportive role. Thanks, mother-in-law. Why weren't you home? So dear husband got a hysterical call from mother-in-law that she was about to break our front door to save our son because I wasn't home, and had left the toddler alone. Understandably this scared dear husband crapless because I never go anywhere, much less without my child. I am also pregnant, and have a heart condition, so his thought was I had collapsed. He calls me, and I answer as always, "What's up, yo?" Then I realized his voice was shaking, so my thought is something happened to a niece or nephew. Oh God, what's wrong? Mom said she's been beating on the door for 10 minutes, and can hear dear son screaming. Where are you? Sitting on the front porch like I always do to answer a call so I don't wake him up. Have you heard anyone knock today? No, I've just been in the kitchen mostly. Dogs haven't even left the porch. Does she remember which house we live at? He said he'd figure this all out. Asked her to send a picture of the house she was at. Now, we live in farm country. Most driveways here are several hundred yards long, like ours. Our dogs don't go bonkers at the mail/traffic/etc. because the road is so far past their territory. He sent me a very blurry, very dark picture of the yard and house, like it was a drive-by. Also, our car was parked out front, so dear husband was home. Oh, and you can see our Christmas tree lights. So basically she snapped a picture the one night, in December, she was allowed to visit. Meanwhile she is insisting dear son is in danger, that I am negligent and she should take the babies for their safety. Dear husband called her apartment manager, who called the cops for a wellness check. This is so far beyond her normal bonkers, we're kind of puzzled. Then, later, dear husband got home doing his temple rubbing because this is so crazy. His father-in-law called him on his way home shrieking about us calling the cops, and trying to have her arrested just because she called to chat. So the version he was told is she called dear husband just to chit-chat through lunch, and thought they had a pleasant visit until a bunch of aggressive cops came, and beat on the door, demanding entry. Her apartment manager was desperately trying to stop them, in tears, but they threatened her. So dear husband called to have her arrested for calling him. Meanwhile, the police department had called dear husband pretty much right after lunch to tell him, she is very much mentally fine, there's no signs of issues, mental or health-wise according to the EMTs. Dear husband was relieved, but the cop added, she tried getting us on her side, saying she just misses you all, and wants a relationship with you. Seemed like every other older woman who can't accept that her kids are adults, but then she started asking what she needed to do so she could take custody of your son, an unborn baby, because she couldn't trust that she would be allowed to see them. I told her about what CPS needs, how she has to qualify, all the huge obstacles in the way of that. Dear husband said they explained, and explained, and explained, but she just got an angry expression, and said something to the effect of, well, I will just have to find another way then. I want those babies. Cop warned dear husband, this is not enough for a restraining order, but don't let your wife go anywhere alone with your son, and if she doesn't already, get her a gun. My professional advice is keep your mother where you can see her. This is the kind of thing that becomes violent when nobody watches. So she's fine, just her garden variety bad crap. Subscribe and turn on the notification bell for more stories delivered to you. Thanks for listening. See you later.